Hey, next on the T Nation, thanks for tuning in to this very special episode of the show featuring my conversations with Duane Horton, Charlie Rymer, Bill Bergin, and Rees Jones, the guys from up at the McLemore, the course you've heard me bragging about for years. Well, they've got their second course, the Keep, that's about to start play. It is a very exciting time up there. This golf course is going to be one of the most anticipated openings of a golf course for 2024, and it's going to become very quickly one of the great courses in our country. Remember, it wasn't long ago that Rees Jones was on this show, and he said the Keep is a course that could host a major at any time. It is going to be a place that you're going to want to go check out and see. I am just tickled pink. I can't tell you how excited I am to put a peg in the ground up at the Keep. When you marry it with the Highlands course, the new Cloudlands resort up there, the property is just exploding, and it is just spectacular. As you guys know, my boys and I were up there back in June. Charlie took us out for a tour of the Keep, and every single hole is absolutely outstanding. And that's not hyperbole, because when we went out there and walked that golf course, no matter where you are on that property, the views are spectacular. You've got the cliff edge holes. If you look over your shoulder to your right, to your left, the views and the vistas are spectacular. They've taken out a bunch of trees. Everything is wide open. It knocks your socks off. That's the bottom line. This golf course is going to knock your socks off no matter where you are. So tonight we're going to talk about that. We're going to get perspectives from each one of the guys. We're going to talk about their favorite hole or holes, because there are so many of them. We'll also talk about the routing, the link style, how wind is going to become a factor, how the setup of the tees is going to make it a different experience every single day that you go out there and play it. I'm so excited about this course and to bring these guys on the show so you can hear it from them. So sit back, relax, let us take your mind off everything else going on in your life for the next hour or so. Before we get started, a quick shout out to my friends over at the Pittsburgh Tribune Review and TribLive.com. It's the leading news website in Western Pennsylvania with news around the clock, Pittsburgh pro sports coverage, a high school sports network, a podcast network. Bookmark TribLive.com or download the TribLive app for free. And remember, you can find the most recent episode of Next on the Tee, like this one we're about to do, right there on the homepage of the sports section. Or you could also go to their podcast network. It'll take you to another page. You'll see the Next on the Tee logo there. Click on that. And we've got several episodes from this season available for you right there as well. Okay, now joining me on this very special edition of the show are the folks responsible for creating one of the great golf resorts anywhere on the planet, and that's the McLemore. As you guys have heard me bragging about this place for many years now. This week I get to have the guy who dreamed this whole thing up, Duane Horton, the two guys who designed now two of the top golf courses anywhere on the planet, in my opinion, Bill Bergin and Rees Jones, plus former tour player and now executive vice president up there at McLemore, Charlie Rymer. Fellas, thanks for coming on the show.
Our pleasure.
Thrilled to be with you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Always a privilege.
Duane, I want to start with you. For folks who haven't joined us before, the previous times you've been on the show, you're now, you've been there at McLemore. You're the guy who kind of had the dreamscape that came up with this whole thing. You've been familiar with the property for decades. Talk about this is kind of like a passion project for you that you've seen from an idea to now one of the top golf resorts anywhere on the planet.
It really is, Chris. It's like living a dream now, and it hasn't always been that way. I promise you. It's been we've been more than 17 years in the making now. It's like the iceberg. No one really ever sees how much work there is that really goes into it, and not just me, but the entire team that's come along, and not just follow the vision, but kind of added to it and made it their own. But it definitely is that. It's we're going to be talking about the Keep a little bit, but it's really unbelievable to be standing up there on that ninth hole and looking down and seeing the rooftop of my elementary school that I went to. So this is home for me. I love the place, and even more so the people that make up this community, and the people that have come alongside and now call it home, like Charlie and others that maybe they're home away from home. now as well. So it definitely has been a passion, a calling. We've been through the recession, we've been through COVID, we've been through trials and a lot of things. And there's been times I've thought, what else would I do? And really, nothing else has ever come to mind or really been an option. And just to wrap up with that, there's every reason in the world why we shouldn't be on top of this mountain right now, celebrating and enjoying and sharing it with others. But there's never been an option to do anything other than what we've done in our minds. So, and I know you've been a huge supporter, huge encourager, and you and many others. And it really means the world when we see the smiles on other people's faces as they're enjoying it and hear their enthusiasm. It just pushes us to do even better. So appreciate that, Chris.
Yeah, so let's take that a step further, Duane, because speaking of putting smiles on people's faces, now you're adding the keep, as you mentioned, to the Highland course. A wonderful piece of property, completely blown away when Charlie took us around there earlier this summer. Talk about how those two courses complement and contrast each other.
Yeah, so the keep, the existing Highlands course, starting with it first, there was an existing golf course here. And to be able to bring Bill on site and look at it, and then Rees, the partner, and them to take what we had and make it what it really is today, to levels we never even really thought we would achieve, to add the 18th hole, which hopefully we get to talk about a little bit more, because I can say we would not be here without Bill and Rees championing that cause and making that happen, and the accolades and recognition that we've had from that. But we had this existing mountain course. It truly is a mountain course. It plays a lot, under cliff edges, on top of cliff edges. It plays on the highlands of the mountain and the canyons. It's tree lined. You're on a hole. You don't really see too many other holes from it. You feel like you're in the mountains, in the woods, kind of this secluded area, like you're alone. And then we completely flipped that philosophy over at the Keep, where now we have like this open course where you can see off every hole, you can see off the mountain, something unheard of that we didn't even think was a thing, to be able to see all 18 holes from several places on the property. I know Bill and Rees and Charlie will talk about that more, because it's hard to even fathom what that means. But you have a completely different design concept, that these properties are within a couple of minutes of each other, that just feels like you're in two different worlds in this exotic place. And I couldn't be happier. I don't know a better way to say it. It sounds a little cheesy to some degree, but the Keep is like this links course and this mountain course that kind of came together and had a baby, and that's what the Keep is. It's just something we've never quite seen before, and everybody that's been on it hasn't really seen anything like it. It really takes your breath away.
Duane, you mentioned the 18th hole at the Highlands course because it has gotten so much acclaim from every magazine, from anybody who's ever taken a look at it or played. For me, it almost feels like a hole that's floating in space when you're standing out there, whether on the tee or in the fairway. Talk about its place amongst the very best holes in our game.
Yeah, so it's from the day even before we opened it, Golf Course Architecture magazine had written up a design excellence award for it, for the accomplishment, again, that Bill and Rees did in making that happen. It feels like it's floating out in the sky. I'm very thankful in a way that they're, as great as the Keep is as an entire course, that there's nothing over there that really takes away from our 18th hole. It still stands alone as something unique in the game of golf, the way it hangs out over the valley below. You can see sky underneath it. It hangs out so far. Again, just looking like it's floating like there, as you said. But really quickly, Golf Digest named it top best finishing hole in the last 20 years. And they'd only made that designation twice before, with Pebble Beach and then Harbor Town. And then Links Magazine came along and named it top 10 finishing hole in the entire world. And then just here recently for the 18th, in addition to the course being a top 100 course, the 18th hole was now named the 22nd best hole in the entire country. And it was neat seeing that in the Golf Digest article, because I started towards the back and kept flipping, and to see that all the way up at number 22, kind of did some math really quick and realized that we were the highest ranked hole in the entire state of Georgia. And to think about the other holes and courses that are in Georgia to have, and they were definitely on the list, but for us to be at the top at number 22 in the country made us the best in Georgia. And then to look even further, including West Virginia, we were a top 3 hole in the entire Southeast. If West Virginia was not included, we'd be number 2, only behind TPC Sawgrass 17. So again, definitely had an idea, had a thought, but for Bill and Rees to come along and make it a reality, it's not just that we have a dream property, we really have a dream team that is making this place something special. And to have the support of the board, the investors, the community, the county, the state, this isn't something where one person decided they wanted something and wrote a check. There's no way I could write a check for what's happened up here. It's really been a passion of not just mine, but a lot of other people. And to see, how divided the world can be sometimes, to see what you can accomplish when everybody has a common vision and puts the differences aside and come together to create something special, to be able to share it. It really is special.
Charlie, you're from the area there as well, down in Cleveland, Tennessee. A few years back, you joined the team up there at McLemore. You've seen it grown from one course and a dream of being a top destination for not only golf, but a fantastic resort and a wonderful community of homes as well. Now you've got a second course that takes the baton from the Highlands to a whole new level.
Yeah, it really does, Chris. And Duane keeps mentioning team. You mentioned team. This team is incredible. I mean, Duane Horton, who I work for and have tremendous respect with, he's a visionary, and it's a pleasure to work for him and with him every day. And I don't know if you heard what he just did in there, but unlike anybody else I know of, he just threw out a whole state. Did you guys hear that? He just threw out West Virginia. Did you pick up on that? I mean, I work for a man that can just throw out a whole state, right? And then the other thing I want to point out, that he loves the ninth hole, which I think has a chance to be our signature hole, which there's going to be a lot of discussion on what our signature hole is. But he mentioned that schoolhouse that he attended in middle school a very long time ago. It's about 1,000 feet below us and about 600 yards to the left of the ninth fairway. And Bill, Rees, I think with Duane's game, at some point he's actually going to hit that schoolhouse. It's definitely within his range. But Chris, it really is. It's an incredible honor, and these guys are amazing. Bill has put together a heck of a career in golf architecture. He undersells himself in the professional career that he had. I knew this, but it refreshed my memory the other day. We were kind of going back and forth on Twitter. You're talking to a guy who had the low round of the week at an Open Championship on the old course at St. Andrews. And so Bill, along with being one of the hottest architects in the game right now and extremely busy, he's a very humble guy as well. And then, of course, Rees, who and I've been fortunate to know Bill and Rees for a long time. I first met Bill when I was in college at Georgia Tech, and he was just getting started to work for the late Bob Cupp, and I've really enjoyed our friendship over the years. And then Rees, our friendship goes back a long ways, and Rees is golf course architecture royalty. I mean, you look at a man who's touched 27 golf courses. He's had his hands all over that have hosted men's or women's major championships, Ryder Cups, President's Cup, Solheim Cups. And I'm sure the list has probably grown since the last time I looked at it. But it is an unbelievable team. It's humbling. And I'm thrilled that I get to be a small part of it. I learn from all three of these gentlemen. When I'm around them every day, I learn something. This place is very special to me. I was, as you mentioned, I was born about 40 miles from here. All my family still lives in this area. The game has been great to me. It's presented a lot of opportunities with education, friendships, career A, career B, career C, and to be able to come back here at 56 years old and dig into a project that's just incredibly special. That's going to mean a lot to a lot of people. I think for generations to come, it is an incredible honor.
And Charlie, you took my buddies and I for a tour of the keep a couple of months ago when we came up there. And even though a lot of the sod hadn't been laid yet, we were all blown away by the layout and the vistas that you get at the keep. Talk about what's going to set the keep apart from other golf courses around the country.
Well, what you said there, listen, if you have a baby, you think you got the most beautiful baby in the world, right? And then, you take them to school and you find out everybody's got a beautiful baby. And I'm so close to this project and I'm so passionate about it and emotional about it. My intuition tells me, hey, this is something that's absolutely incredible. And I'm blown away by it every time I walk on the property. But folks like you, folks that are in the industry, folks that don't even play golf and have never even played golf, the reaction I get when I take people out there is universal. They cannot believe it. Even if they've never held a golf club in their hand, they know they're looking at something really special. So the drama of the site, the strategy that's there, the types of grasses that we use, there's so much, so many levels to it. Gosh, I mean, we could probably do a full 2-hour show on the bunker style that we have at McLemore, the type of grass that we have on the greens. But whenever I bring people in from the outside and they say and see the same thing I do, it really lets me know that truly this is something that it's the real deal. And I'm going to disagree with what Duane said about a mountain course and a links course having a baby. This ain't no baby. This is a big ballpark. There ain't nothing baby-like about the keep. I can assure you guys of that.
Bill, you and Rees came together to design the Highlands course. It reaches out and grabs you from the moment you step on the first green until we're floored as we drive down the winding cart path that leads to the 18th tee, and that hole simply takes your breath away. It seems impossible to top that, but you guys did it. What'd you think when Duane and Charlie came to you and said, hey, let's run it back and come up with something even better for a second golf course?
Well, the first time that Duane took me out on that site, he called it Mountain Flat. And I was looking at the topo and I was going, well, it's not exactly flat, but he was way more correct than I was looking at topo, because once we cleared this property, you realize it just all lays there on the edge so nicely. And it just looks like it was meant for a golf course. But I want to backtrack just for a second. And I want to talk about, the original McLemore, the Highlands course and the 18th hole, and the foresight that Duane and our group has had with allowing us sort of to use the edge. And that's a comment that Roland Aberg with Howerton uses all the time. But we stuck the 18th hole on the edge of this mountain. And without that, as Duane said, we would not be having this conversation. We would not have this beautiful hotel on the edge of the mountain. That hole really was the catalyst for all of this. And then you think about what this ownership group has done with allowing us to put a short course on the edge of a mountain, which was prime real estate area, that they could have made a lot of money with the lots that they allowed us to do the short course on. And then you fast forward to the keep, and we've got an entire golf course on the edge with nothing in the way, nothing that obstructs you, nothing that distracts you other than the beauty of the golf course and the enjoyment of looking 70 miles to the mountains in the distance. So, to be able to work on this type of property, I could continue to call it one of a kind. And then to team up with Rees, when you say that Rees has worked on 27 courses that have hosted major championships, it would be a dream of mine to do one, and he's got 27. That's very humbling. And quite sobering. And so it's been such a pleasure. And also, this whole team, everybody has such great contributions. It's funny because we look at things differently, and that's when sometimes I think you end up with the best result, because you get a little bit of difference, and it just, you put it in a pot and mix it up together, and all of a sudden you've got what we have at the Keep and at McLemore. So it's it's been quite a privilege.
Rees, when you joined me last time, you said not only was the Keep going to be even more spectacular than the Highlands, you went so far as to say you think that at some point in time you're going to be able to hold a major on the Keep. It's just that good. Talk about why you think that is.
Well, first of all, we're designing it for the people that come to play, the members and the resort players. It's really designed for everybody. It could host a major because we can convert it into a major site by using the back tees and by tightening the fairways a little bit. But I mean, in essence, this is a golf course for everybody to enjoy. I mean, I think people are going to come from all over the world to play both the Highlands course and the Keep. The photographers are going to go crazy taking shots of this. I think Duane really explained it perfectly. We have the Highlands course, which is really a wooded course and tree line, and then we have the Keep, which is open, and really we did that to emphasize the views. And Bill also mentioned, and Charlie did too, the fact that the minute you walk and get your first glimpse of the Keep, just the first second, you are absolutely startled. And you're in for a wonderful experience. And you, as Duane mentioned, you could look and see all 18 holes from several spots on the golf course. And so that's going to be the great anticipation for the first-time player. Now, Bill also mentioned the natural aspect of the site. You really can't beat it. I mean, it's basically a mountain golf course that has 18 natural holes on it. A lot of mountain golf courses really don't have that. The Highlands also has the same type of condition, but they're not quite as close together. But you have two entirely different golf experiences within a couple of miles of one another. And I think that's why the hotel's going to be so successful. I think that's why the real estate's going to be so successful.
And Rees, the Keep is a walkable link-style golf course. I can't imagine that there are many other courses around the world that marry mountain cliff edge and link style together like this course does.
Well, I think it's got a links flow to it, the natural flow to it, the ground game. Bill and I have emphasized the ground game as well as the aerial game. I think this has been a team effort. It's been very collegial. I mean, Duane, really, when you have a great client like Charlie and Duane working with you, they ask the questions and we think things out. And it's basically like a pre-depression golf course, which is a lot of the great golf courses in America were built in pre-depression time over an extended period of time and not rushed. And so Bill and I have made so many changes on the ground just to emphasize what is naturally there. So I would have to say that this is a classic design golf course, and the Highlands is classic in a different way, but it's more of a mountain golf course. And I think, as Duane describes it, the Keep is a links flow on top of the mountain. But to have that mountain edge, as Charlie alluded to, I mean, you don't get that. This is like Pebble Beach for the Valley that has a lot going on rather than just an ocean.
They have nailed this routing to this land. We were talking to the contractor, and most golf courses are 120 to 150 acres. And the contractor told us that to build a new golf course, they have to move 1 million to 2 million cubic yards of dirt. So here we are on this mountain property that's 200 to 220 acres, and we only moved around 500,000 cubic yards of dirt. And a lot of that was building the irrigation lakes and just building the greens up and the tees and the bunkers. The fact that we have this routing that lays on the land, I mean, it feels like something you would see from a golden age golf course. And to have such a challenging site and have Bill and Rees deliver at such a high level, it's really inspirational. And I know the people that play it will feel it. It feels like it belongs there. And I know that, not just will people enjoy it, it has the potential to be, I think, one of the best spectator courses in the country, because you don't even have to have grandstands in most of the places. You can see so much from just a few places. It really is pretty amazing what they've accomplished.
And speaking of routing, Charlie, as you pointed out to us when we were there, the design is such that there are multiple ways to play several of the holes. I think that's another unique piece that the Keep brings.
Yeah, this to me is a wonderful example of strategic golf, and it's my favorite kind of golf. And as far as I'm concerned, Augusta National is a poster child for strategic golf. You just have all kinds of options. Bobby Jones, going back to some of his field notes, he didn't want it to be a penal golf course. In fact, the quote is the difficulty of the second should be in direct proportion to the excellence of the first. It's one of my favorite quotes in all of golf. And what that says is if you're playing the 13th at Augusta and you hit it up the left-hand side and challenge a creek, you get rewarded with a better angle, a flatter lie, a shorter second shot. If you bail it out to the right, you're not buried. You have a chance to pull off the hero shot. And he wanted that to happen. When you look at penal golf, for example, the 17th hole at TPC, you either hit it on the green, you hit in the water. There's no strategy in that hole. You either execute or you don't. There's no not that much decision making. We've got hole after hole after hole where you've got to make decisions. Our 6th hole, for example, is a par 4 that's kind of in the center of the big part of the golf course. And there's a pond just to the left of the green, and there's a closely mown bank between the pond and the green. There's some bunkers that are a little short and right. And when you stand on that tee, Chris, you're going to have to decide, do I try to drive this green, which it'll be drivable, especially on days it's downwind for most players, especially if you're playing the right tees. If you do, you bring the bunkers into play and you bring the water into play. Okay, all right, I'm going to lay up. Do you lay up short and right? You lay up short and center? Do you lay up way over to the left? You got to have a game plan. There's not a ton of rough out there. And the best shot to play on that hole is going to vary from day to day based on the course setup, the wind condition, the firmness of the turf, and how you feel that day. And to me, that's what our game is all about. And we've got hole after hole out there that are wonderful examples of strategic golf. I can't wait to see how it plays and how people attack this golf course and the options that they come up with. It is incredibly interesting golf course, and we're doing it without, other than the native areas, any real kind of rough whatsoever. And that's what you got to have. You got to have rough, a lack of rough, and you got to have width. And we're a perfect site for that because the wind. We're a windy site too, and that makes it even more interesting. I think people are going to love it, and they're going to come back and play it time after time, and they're going to find different routes to play it every time they come and play the golf course.
Bill, speaking of windy conditions, not only are the cliff edge holes spectacular, but the wind is going to be a factor like in a true link style golf course because of how open the property is, I would imagine.
No doubt, Chris. And I hate to admit that it was a bit of a surprise. At one point, we were out there and all of a sudden you realize when you clear 200 acres and you're on the edge of a mountain, it's just really windy. And it's funny because we'd been up at McLemore, so many times, hundreds of times, and you don't quite get the feel of that on the Highlands course because it's protected by trees and protected, there's valleys and various things. It's a well-protected golf course. And then you open up the Keep and all of a sudden the breezes start to blow, and it's actually wonderful. And I've always enjoyed links golf, and I've enjoyed windy conditions because you kind of calculate the shot more than you think about golf swing. And so it's kind of a point and shoot type thing. And then you think about, we have a hotel, we have members, we're going to have all kinds of guests playing it for the first time. Well, the playing quarter is big. It's big and broad. You can hit it and feel comfortable about hitting it at different places. But as Charlie mentioned, the angles into the greens all of a sudden cause you to really realize there are benefits to pushing it to the edge, like the 9th hole. The closer you go to the left side, the less risk you have on your second shot. The more you play out to the right where there's plenty of room, you do have to deal with some bunkers, but then you're coming at the green from a cross angle, and the wind is probably also going to be coming from the right. So then you bring the left side into play. So I think that every time, if you played this golf course 4 days in a row, I think you'd have 4 different experiences. and nothing's better than that. I mean, that's just makes it really, really exciting. So, we're kind of thrilled with that, and the wind impact is a positive out here. I think it's going to really make it fun.
Reese, speaking earlier of some of the courses that you've done that have hosted majors, when Charlie was showing us the layout and the vision for the keep, I felt some influences from some of your courses. I felt some influences from places like Medina and Cog Hill and Victory Ranch. Am I making that up?
Well, no, I'd say Victory Ranch is a good example. It's in Deer Valley. It's in the mountains. The one thing I have to say about the Keep is there's nothing like it. I mean, as Bill can tell you, it sort of unfolded as we kept clearing. We kept clearing more and more because we realized the site was a visual site, and that the trees were not important like they were on the Highlands course. So it was really the wind and the width of the fairways, the approaches of the greens, and so this golf course is built like those of yesteryear when it was sort of unfolded on the ground. And I think we kept clearing more and more trees just because we realized what a visual experience it is. And I mean, when we found the 11th hole, we were blown away. It was like a natural green surrounded by rock outcrops. The 17th hole, I mean, you got the natural rock. That's like a hole you'll never find anywhere else. It was a natural rock outcrops, and same thing on 18. And then you have holes with streams. So I mean, it changes character as you play, and you're going to want to play it over and over again because, as Bill has just said, you're going to have a different experience based on the wind every day. And someday you're going to have a still day and say, "Oh my goodness, this is my day. I'm going to score today." But you're still going to have to think about it. This is what Charlie was talking about with strategic design. You have to think your way around this golf course. You can never let up. But if you have a golf course that makes you think, you're going to score better.
Let me add one more thing with Charlie here. So, it's hard to think of Charlie and not think fun. And, we have this incredible strategic golf course, and to have Charlie helping lead, the experience that people are going to have out there with the staff and the games and the setup. But Charlie's contributed in a lot of ways, but one thing that's a huge contribution is he really pushed us early on to put in this ribbon tee style setup to where we don't have tee boxes. We really have these long teeing areas. And talking about the wind and the different conditions, Charlie and the team, he can speak to it more, but they're going to be looking at the wind conditions because it can vary from different directions day to day. That, even though the course can stretch up to 7,800 yards, depending on wind, we can move some tees as far as 100 yards forward and backwards, and even some holes 100 yards side to side.
Wow.
Because of these large teeing areas that give us the flexibility to set the course up so that if you're supposed to be hitting a 7-iron in, even if you're hitting into the wind or with the wind, you're still hitting a 7-iron in on that hole, or as close as we can get to that. And I've never seen anything quite like it. And again, Charlie's contributed a lot, but that's been really something he pushed. And somebody talked about stirring up the pot. We have stirred the pot with a lot of great ideas, and what's been great is this team's just pulled out the best idea, no matter who owned it, and just we own all of this 100% together, and that's been really something special.
Hey, Duane, let me follow up on that same comment. So Charlie, Duane and I were out on number 2 yesterday, and I said, man, this is exactly what Charlie was looking for in the way those tees fit down, along the wetland below the tree line. And that's over 200 yards, not even from the Charlie tee, actually, but from the regular, the back tee to the forward tee is 200 yards. And on 7, we've got 2 long ribbons, and that's 250 yards difference between the back edge and the front edge. Think about the diversity and the setup that Charlie and our pros are going to be able to set up and give the guests such a cool look day after day from different positions.
Take that a step further, if you would.
Well, yeah, and thank you all for bringing that up. I just and it was a little bit of a crazy idea, but the design team, Bill and Rees and with Duane's blessing, really bought into this. But one of the things that I see in golf that's always just that hasn't made sense to me is the idea that you put out 7 sets of tee markers, hybrid sets of tee markers, and they never move, right? And so it's kind of lazy in our industry to do that. So it says, based on your sex, your age, how far you carry a 7-iron, whatever that is. Well, every time you play this golf course, you're going to play from this one little area that's 4x4. And the conditions are constantly changing on any golf course, and in particular ours. And I just view it as kind of lazy. It's set it and forget it. And so from the very beginning, one of the design concept here was wow, let's take advantage of these changing conditions and put a golf course out there on a daily basis that great thought has gone into design. Well, the setup on a daily basis deserves great thought as well. And that's what we're going to be able to do here. And it really is going to be, when you play 3 days in a row, you're going to have a lot of different looks, a lot of different shots. We've invested a lot of time and energy and resources and, quite honestly, money in putting all of these different teeing areas out there. Well, from an operational standpoint, if we don't take advantage of those, that's just dumb. And so we're going to be very different in how we're set up from day to day at the Keep, and it works from the very beginning. This isn't something that you could retroactively come in and do. It has to be a part of the design. It's baked into the cake, and that's what we've got here. And I think that people are really going to respond to it. We're seeing what we've got here is authentic golf with a lot of thought behind it, and golfers respond to that. It's golf built for golf. A lot of times, if you look, and our game has been built for lot premiums, and Duane very bravely, and Bill alluded to it earlier, gave this design team 479 acres and said, build me the best golf course you can on this spectacular piece of property. Rees and Bill, I think, very seldom in their careers have probably ever had that opportunity, because most of the time, Chris, the land is already, it's gone through land planning, and they get corridors. Build us the best golf course you can build us in these corridors, and everywhere else there's going to be lots and houses. And people, even if they intuitively don't know that, they can sense it. And when you see authentic golf built on great land with great thought behind it, there's an audience out there that absolutely loves it. And I know folks, when they get here, and it's more than just seeing it, you got to feel it, but they're going to pick up on all of these things, these layers that are in the Keep, and they're really going to respond to it. And I can't wait to see some of the reactions that we get from people coming here for the first time.
I want to add something to that. What Charlie's really saying is what Duane allowed Bill and myself to do. This is a pure golf experience. It's golf for golf. It was built for golf. It was built for the world of golf and everybody around the world to come enjoy it. I think Charlie alluded to maybe having a signature hole. I mean, everybody's going to have a different signature hole on this golf course. I mean, it may even start with number 2, and then go to number 8 or number 7, number 11, number 10, number 9. I mean, this is a signature golf course. This will not have a signature hole, and it finishes with such a crescendo. And I think if you play it several times, you will start to anticipate all those different feelings you're going to have, and play the strategy and play the angles and play the right side of the fairway. It's going to be a learning experience for a long time, because the space is so wide that you have many, many different types of shot options, which really will make this a golf course for a lifetime.
Bill, speaking about feelings that you have, one of the things I think players need to get prepared for is to pause and take it all in, because from anywhere on the course, as you guys have said throughout the course of this conversation, you get a tremendous view no matter where you're at on the property. And we're not advocating slow play, but maybe when your partner's lining up his or her shot, take a moment to kind of drink it all in, because the surroundings are just that spectacular.
No doubt. So my favorite spot, possibly, there's so many, but my favorite is the 16th greens complex, a Rees Jones greens complex on this property. I think it's the best one we have. It's kind of like that spot where you're at this, you're reading an incredible book, or you're at a movie or a concert, and you just do not want it to end, but you know you're getting close. And I think you get to that 16th green, and you have this ability to look over the entire property. You've got two incredibly diverse holes to finish with, but you look back over the previous 15 holes, and I think you're just going to be, you take that in, you pause, you enjoy that experience, and you do wish that it wasn't going to end. And hopefully that'll be the point where people say, I just can't wait to come back. And then you get to finish with 17 and 18, which are spectacular and completely different.
Duane, I want to actually take a step back for a second, because one of the questions that I get from my listeners, as I've been talking about this property for years now, and now over the last several months with the Keep, is they want to know, where'd you come up with the name?
Yeah, that's been a journey in its own right. We started out when we went to this property. You were out there, and it was kind of this wooded wilderness. I mean, there was only a few clearings, or you could get out to the cliff edge, and it kind of had this, rustic, almost distant feel. And we, for some reason, the name Outpost just really jumped out to us, and we started with that. But as this course unfolded and you started to see what it was, the Outpost just didn't really do it justice. It sounds like, hey, this is, something distant from something else that is. It really became its own destination and deserving of its own name. And our director of marketing, not director of marketing, VP of marketing now, Ivy Whitman, that's been with me from this our most recent journey here of really relaunching McLemore into what it is today, has been responsible for all the branding, the logos, working again as collaboratively as we've worked with this design team. We've done so with the story and the branding and what McLemore is. But he threw out a name quite some time ago, and we just kind of all like the Outpost. I think Bill will even speak to it himself. He really hated the idea of changing the name, but once we really understood it, he threw out the idea of the Keep, and we were like, the Keep, I don't know. And then once we started piecing things together, it was just perfect. You had, Rees Jones, Rees here was talking about, we use the word links a lot. And a lot of the great golf courses that are on the ocean aren't actually links courses; they're headland courses. You think Old Head, you think Turnberry over in Scotland, Old Head in Ireland. You have, even Pebble Beach is a headlands course. Cypress Point is a headlands course. So this looks like a headlands course in the sky with the cliff edges towering over this ocean of sky below us, and sometimes filled with clouds. So we were like, it was a great nod back to the great headlands courses of Scotland. And also on these headland sites, not only were some of the great golf courses built, but you even think about Turnberry, that's where castles were built. Robert the Bruce was born in the castle that was on the Turnberry property. And we didn't want to call it castle, that didn't really work, but the area where the most protected area, the area where the most valuable treasures were kept, the place that people would retreat to, it was called the Keep within a castle. And I've heard some other people say, if you've seen the Game of Thrones or you've seen Lord of the Rings, the word Keep will kind of jump out in some of those settings. So we thought it was neat from that aspect, but would that really grab you? Well, then we did a little bit more research. And Tommy's honor, old Tom Morris, the father of modern day golf, as we know it, before titles such as the director of agronomy or superintendent or head pro, before any of these titles that exist throughout the industry now, the original title given to the father of modern day golf was called the Keeper. And we, those two things. And then to add on that this wasn't even a thought of ours. I mean, as much as we are appreciative to be a part of something that, others will ultimately decide and time will tell if it's history, that's not for us. But to understand that this property was here and we didn't even have the idea about it until we took these steps that we've taken now, for it to be kept for this purpose, there's just something I know that resonates with many of the members of this team, that there just really does feel something divine about the fact that this property was kept for that purpose. So it's really all three of those elements just really work together for us to call, for it to be named the Keep. And it doesn't feel like something we even gave it. It feels like something that it just was already. And we found that, like Rees and Bill found the holes that are on it.
And the logo is fantastic as well. And McLemore has a great, club logo to start with, but this is such a complimentary and interesting logo. And I think that people will be very proud to wear all of our gear.
Rees, things never go exactly as planned. Were there some happy accidents or things that you didn't expect to happen along the way as you guys were putting this course together?
Well, we hit rock, and we had to make decisions, Bill and I, of whether or not we leave it as one as incorporate that rock. But actually, where it's all been incorporated, it's really part of the beauty of the playing experience. I think the surprise of the 11th green when it unfolded, when we cleared it, we said, "Oh my God, what a great hole can be built here!" And then going along the cliff's edge, those holes just evolved. We didn't have all our ideas in mind right as we cleared it, but they evolved, and everybody had their input. And then, even the hole like number 2, which is a double fairway, those are very hard holes to create, because usually when they pick one side or the other, that double fairway is going to really be used a lot. I mean, they're going to go the right side when they want to shorten the hole and not have to cross the wetland on the second shot, or they're going to go the left side if they want to take less of a risk. The first hole, my goodness, what a great hole that is! Right off the bat, you're at a great place. So every hole has this distinctive feature, natural feature, which helped Bill and myself create what is there today. So I think we had surprise after surprise, but then we utilized those surprises to the advantage of this classic style, old-fashioned golf course.
Bill, I have to imagine there were some challenges with building the course on the side of a mountain, some unexpected reveals, as Rees alluded to. What'd you run into along the way that really stuck out to you?
Well, the best quote might come from Clyde Hall, who's our project manager and works for Southeastern Golf, and they've been a good partner as well, because nothing's been particularly straightforward. And I joke a little bit that when it's all finished, everybody's going to go, "Wow, that was a perfect site to build a golf course. That had to be, easy to build it." And as Clyde says, there are no easy holes to build out there, because even the 9th hole, where we moved 0 dirt, but there was rock right underneath the surface everywhere. So we spent probably, what, Duane, do you think, a year and a half with a rock hammer tapping every day? It seems
Yes.
it's been a constant sound when you're out there. It's going to be such a relief to enjoy the birds and the breeze and the quiet when we're actually playing golf, because we literally tapped rock for over a year, and so that's been something. And then I think the hole that kind of evolved in such a cool way, and thank goodness it did, is the 18th hole. The 18th hole, was a little bit awkward in how it doglegged left against a slope going to the right. It went over a hill and you couldn't quite see everything. And we were able to push the tees to a position and open it up that it is going to be such a fantastic finishing hole. It's funny, Chris, if I asked you from the tee, how far it is it to the, a certain bunker or a person in the fairway, and you'd probably look at it and go, "Oh, that's probably about 250 yards." And it's more like 3.25. And that happens out here a lot, where you think it's a short distance because of the scale of the golf course, but in reality, it's big and it's long, and you've got, and again, the views are forever. But the 18th hole has some really cool strategy, kind of open to the right where you're hitting towards the cliff, but more, plenty of space, and then a sneaky pathway on the left side that's directly at the green. And when people stand on the tee, they're going to look at the green and go, "I can drive this green." Well, probably not really, but there's some exciting options out there in the fairway, and it is well bunkered.
It's a great finishing hole because there's so many choices off the tee. It's a split fairway. We have a bunker in the middle. There's a reason to go right and flirt with a cliff, and then there's a safer reason to go left, but then you have a more challenging approach shot. And the 18th hole is very important on a world-class great golf course, which this is, because you're finishing your match. You're trying to have your best score. That's where you really have to keep up your game. And the 18th is going to be a challenge from the head to the arms. It's going to be, as Bobby Jones once alluded, half the game is played in a 6-inch space between your ears. You're going to have to really think that one out to win your match or to have the score you want.
Charlie, you've got to be like a kid who's anticipating Christmas morning for when your members are going to go out and play their first rounds on the Keep. You excited? You nervous? How you feeling?
I'm a little bit of everything. We've been at it this so long. I go back to end of 21, starting to clear some trees and through the entire process. And of course, there's been a lot going on in the world. A lot been going on in my personal life too during that time period. And I really can't wait to get folks out there. And I'll tell you this, the thing that will be the most rewarding to me is once we get people coming out here. The only thing that kind of compares to it, one of my favorite places to go and golf is at the Masters as the patrons are leaving, especially early in the week on a Monday, a Tuesday, or Wednesday. And if you hang out at the gate and you kind of look back at the people that are coming out, and that's typically where the most first timers at the Masters, they come early in the week. You can tell by their facial expression, this just satisfied look that they have on their face. They're a little tired. They've been walking the golf course all day, but they know they've seen something really, really cool. And they just have this look in their eyes and on their face that this is one of the best days I've ever had in my life. And I can't wait for people, the first time they come to the Keep, walking off of 18 green, they're a little tired from walking that golf course. And they're going to be kind of taking it all in. And when I see that expression on their face, I'll know, all of the blood, sweat, and tears we've gone through and getting this thing out of the ground and open. I know that it'll have been worth it. And I know we're going to see that expression from a lot of people for many, many years to come.
Duane, you've got to be getting some early comments from members who have been out there touring it, whether with Charlie or other people that have seen the course as it started to get laid in and now the sod's being put down and you're finishing up the touches. What are you hearing from your members about their anticipation for getting to put a peg in the ground there?
It's, we've had members make some really big investments in the Keep. We've had memberships sell for $500,000, $250,000. And I know people may be listening, think, oh, this member's only course. It's not. We do have member block tee times and really setting this up to create an incredible member experience. But like the great courses of Scotland, we've made this accessible to the world to come enjoy it as well. So it really is a unique member that will put that kind of money in but they wanted to be a part of something special, to look back on it and, not to have the foresight of what Bill and Rees has done with creating projects. And I'm in land development, so I'm really used to seeing land before it's touched and kind of imagining how it's going to lay out. For them to not be in that world and to have invested what they invested on the front end. And then we had one out there today, and he literally stood up on the top of 16, exactly where Bill is saying, one of the most amazing spots on the property. And for him to say, this may be the best investment I've ever made in my life. And it's not just an investment in, a return of cash, even though, there is a piece to that to them. It's just the enjoyment that they get to enjoy it. They get to share it and be a part of really creating something special. And that, to hear that, for somebody to put down that kind of money and say this is one of the best investments they've ever made, I think speaks volumes, and I couldn't be happier with it. Every member that we take out there, none of them are disappointed. They're thrilled beyond their wildest imagination from what they thought it was going to be to what it's actually become. I mean, how many times do you buy something and then you have a regret later, whether you buy a boat or, a certain piece of property or something, you're so excited. And then that kind of wears off. For them to be a part of this journey for so long, and it just keeps getting better and better. It's I could not be more thrilled.
Bill, I know asking you which ones are your favorite holes at the Keep is kind of like asking you which one is your favorite kid. So let me put it this way. Which ones are the most fun?
It's funny about the Keep. I want to describe it a little bit for your listeners. So think of half of a coliseum, and the bottom half is the cliff edge, and then it circles around the outside. And there are 5 high points to this property, and each time you get up to those high points in a subtle way on number 2, and a kind of a subtle way on 8. Less subtle on 13, but you get up to these high points and you have what we call reveals. And during this process, as Rees said earlier, it sort of evolved because we kept having things revealed to us during the process. So that's been, kind of exciting. But where I'm going is with this is our holes that climb a little bit kind of tend to be the fun ones. The second hole's a par 5. It's going to be a birdie opportunity, and you get up to this high point, and then you look right back down the entire, to the valley, looking sort of south on that one. And that's pretty neat. And then 12 and 17 are 2 short par 4s, both scoring holes. The 12th hole is set up that you possibly can drive it over a bunker field with just leaving a chip shot. And then the 17th you saw is basically a coliseum of rock. On all sides with a green set in the middle. And that's just a hole like no other I've ever seen. I think that you just, but again, these are scoring holes. So I think those are going to be a lot of fun. And my favorites are probably a little bit hard. The 8th hole is really hard. But it's so exciting. It's basically a semi-Redan style green. But it matches the mountains in the distance. And so, there's too many to actually list. We play around with favorite holes, and I would tell you, give me a few weeks, I'll have a different set. Let me play the course, and there'll be another set of different favorite holes. So it's a bit like
Chris.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I apologize, Bill. But I would to add to what Bill's saying. We have probably 10 to 12 different people that are heavily involved day to day in the project. The 4 of us, but we have our Greens Committee chairman who's out there many times a week. We have our director of agronomy, director of golf, our GM, our superintendent, so many others, and none of them agree on the same hole. I mean, you have 10 different people, and they all have a different hole as their favorite. That's how amazing this course is. And as Rees said earlier, we really, it'd be so, there's so many holes that could be the signature hole, but we think everybody's going to be arguing over it and deciding for themselves and, what that is. And it's just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
So let's take that a step further. And you mentioned photographers early on. Charlie, we have a good friend, Evan Schiller, who is a fantastic photographer. He's been out there and he's photographed the Highlands course, and he's photographed just about every great golf course around the world. I'm sure he's going to be back to take pictures of the Keep. If he's going to pick a picture to put in his yearly calendar, which one are you asking him to take the picture of?
Oh my. I think we've got 7 or 8 shots that could be magnificent magazine covers. I really do. And it in my opinion has evolved. When we first got going, I thought, well, 10 is it. And then I thought, well, 11 is it. And then, Duane starts talking about a schoolhouse, and I get all emotional about that. And I go, well, it's 9. And then now lately, and then Bill's on 16. I've landed on 16. I'll tell you what, I think the 4-hole stretch, 8, 9, 10, 11, the par 3, the par 4, the par 5, the par 3, I think it can go down as one of the best 4-hole stretches in the world of golf. I can't think of another 4-hole stretch that I would take over that. And it's I think people are going to respond to that. And the other thing, and we hadn't even talked about it, guys, I think number one has a chance to be the most challenging opening hole in the world of golf, except for maybe number one at Oakmont. And it's challenging because it's silly. Yeah, I said number one at Oakmont is silly. But I think our number one hole has a chance. I mean, it is welcome to the keep. This is number one. Good luck, folks. And so, but what this is all leading to, and Duane mentioned it earlier, the discussion that's going to happen when you get a group of 8, 12 guys, and they're sitting around, having a nice cold beverage, in the Cloudland Lodge afterwards. Well, what's your favorite hole? Well, a fight might break out, and that's the best kind of argument that you could have. People arguing over the golf course project that you're involved with and you're passionate about, and they're arguing over which one is their favorite hole. We're going to have a lot of heated discussions over that.
I'd like to ask about the first hole. The first hole, and everywhere on this golf course, Bill and I really gave the golfer a bailout area if he didn't hit a good drive. The first hole is going to be quite demanding across the cavity in front of it, but you can go around. And we have a lot of situations like that the members and the guests can actually play safe if they haven't hit a good drive. But I think Charlie's right. It may be one of the great starting holes in golf. And the reason why the Oakmont, he made the come out of Oakmont is because if you get in the rough at Oakmont with that green, it falls away from it. You can't stop the ball. That's why I called it silly.
And then I apologized, but I was right.
All right, fellas, just a couple more before I let you go. Charlie, alongside of the great golf courses that you've built up there now, you guys have a world-class hotel with fantastic dining options, a large conference facility as well. Talk about the other amenities that people are going to find when they arrive on property.
Well, Chris, I've heard we've got a really nice gym in the hotel. I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's there and it's very nice. Listen, I got to tell you, I live on property. I live on Lookout Mountain. The Lookout Mountain, and having even been born in the area and been around this area my whole life, I had no idea what was up there. We're the very end of the Cumberland Plateau. It's 70 miles from the Tennessee River all the way down to where it kind of finishes up in Alabama. We've got 2 national parks. We've got 2 state parks. We've got unbelievable different cultures up there. It really feels like you're on a different planet. The hiking, the biking, the trails. My wife and I have 2 magnificent golden retrievers, and we always try to take a day a week off and go hike somewhere that we haven't hiked. And every time we go exploring, we find something that we didn't know that was there. And so there's just so much to discover and enjoy on Lookout Mountain. You'll never get tired of it. And it's a really, really special place that is in the middle of everything. Birmingham, Nashville, Atlanta, right in the middle of that. But it feels like the last undiscovered great property and place in the Southeast. And I can't believe I live there. In fact, I hate when I leave it. I'm off the mountain right now. I'm getting a little itchy. I can't wait to get back up on top. It's going to take me an hour, but I sleep better there. It's an unbelievable spot.
Duane, like Charlie alluded to, you've also got a great community of homes that are already there with more plots of land available. So McLemore is becoming not only a resort destination, but just simply a great place to live.
It definitely is. The community up here is just incredible. We have, a lot of people that make this their primary residence. We're only 35 minutes south of Chattanooga. There's 3 different routes to get there that are really easy. Beautiful drives. So to be a primary residence, we have all the amenities you can imagine and infrastructure in place. It is, it's like this Goldilocks, of a location, being, only 2 hours from Atlanta, Nashville, Birmingham. Knoxville, Huntsville, and really so centered in the Southeast. Really accessible. We have people that have a second home here, but they're probably here more weekends than they are at their primary residence. It really is something that's amazing, and the construction teams, they have more homes under construction now than we've ever had. If anybody's interested, now's the time. There's only so much land up here on the mountain. It's kind of like beachfront property. They're not really making any more of it, and but it really is, as much as we could talk, as much as we can share pictures, it's something you just have to come and see. And as great as the pictures are, one of my favorite compliments we hear time and time again is, the pictures are amazing, but they just do not do the place justice. And I would really invite all your listeners to come up and let us share, give you a tour. We've got an incredible team that can share the story, the opportunities. And, one thing we didn't talk about yet, Chris, is this keep. We've been designing it, building it, sodding it now, growing in the greens. It's opening in just over a month. The end of September, we're going to have guest rounds already booked, and we're going to have a preview period. We need everyone to understand sod's just being laid. The last sod should be laid by the end of next week. So, there's going to be some areas with some seams here and there, but to be one of the first to play, this course, we hope people will take advantage of this opportunity right now, and then continue to experience as it heals up and grows in and matures into what we believe it will be.
So for the people that are saying to themselves, I got to go see what these guys are talking about, how can they get more information? How can they book their tee times, plus get involved with whether they want to get involved as an investor or get up there to the hotel and get a room and stay for a while?
Well, the website's absolutely the best. Our team's created a tremendous site. It's themclemore.com, or they could also type in mclemoreresort.com. Either one of those will take you to the same place. The Cloudland Lodge is on there. We have stay and play cottages that are in there, great for families or men's or ladies trips. We have you click on golf, it'll take you to the Highlands course, and it'll take you to the Keep to learn more information about those. There's opportunities to join. One of the great things that we have about McLemore as well is the opportunity to join as a friend of McLemore. It doesn't cost anything to join. You're really on the inside track to any news, any developments, special access beyond what a overnight guest resort would have, and would encourage everyone to please take advantage of that as well. But if you go in there's plenty of places to book, to call. And we've talked a lot about the Keep. There's no way in this time frame that we could share everything, but there is what we call a spec sheet, or the facts and figures of the Keep, that talk about that we have 90 acres of fairway, where most golf courses have 25 to 30 acres of fairway. And to do that not just on a flat property, but on a mountain flat property in the mountains, I'd ask everyone to go learn more there. But the website will take you pretty much anywhere you need to go to find out more about McLemore.
Bill, a last word from you on the Keep and what you want people to walk away from this conversation knowing?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I have a wonderful home life, and yet every time I'm at the Keep, I never want to leave. I was there yesterday knowing I was going to be there tomorrow as well, and I still just don't want to leave the site. It's a place that just draws you in and makes you want to stay. And Charlie, I loved your comment. I can just picture guys sitting having a scotch in honor of our Scottish McLemore theme, sitting in the hotel, the Cloudland Hotel, and I just want to walk by a group and say, all right, what was your favorite hole? And just hear what they have to say, because what fun conversation that's going to be.
Indeed, it will be.
Rees, the last word from you too?
Well, I'd have to tell you that I think the reason Bill and I have enjoyed as spending a lot of time there and working on both the golf courses is the McLemore people are just so special. I mean, everybody that works for the team, right down to the waiters and waitresses. I mean, everybody has the same spirit, the same enthusiasm. They know they're either they're either playing, or they're working at a very special place. And I just have to say, all the people involved with McLemore are some of the most special I've known in the game of golf. So it's just not only will you enjoy the golf, the ambiance, the mountain setting, but just hanging around with the people is a true pleasure. And I look forward to my next visit.
And Charlie, the last word goes to you. Talk about what you want people to know about the Keep and the wonderful resort that you guys have all created.
Well, just to try to wrap everything up, it's the Keep is, and I don't know how anybody could listen to this whole conversation and not understand the passion that's behind it, the thought that's behind it. It's built for the right reasons, and it is truly authentic golf, and the folks they're going to sense that, and they're going to respond to it. And for me, it's an emotional place, and you know, Duane talks about seeing it, and the pictures don't do it justice. They don't. You got to come feel it, and when you get that feeling, you're going to want it more and more and more. And it's we're right here about ready to open up the gates, and I just can't wait to share it with the world.
Well, guys, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedules to come together and to be a part of this special edition of the show. I couldn't be more in love with the McLemore property, everything that you guys have done up there. The courses are outstanding. The resort is just spectacular. As you guys have all said, it is a very emotional and spiritual place for me, as well as I have enjoyed the sunrise as it comes up out there over the 18th green at the Highlands golf course. It's just something that's very special and gets in you. Thank you for what you've done, and thank you for joining me and sharing your stories tonight.
Well, Chris, you're absolutely the best, and thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you and the listeners. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Chris.
Take care, fellas. All the best to you and your families. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
That is Duane Horton, Charlie Rymer, Bill Bergin, and Rees Jones. Fantastic individuals and very talented at the things that they do. Was I lying up front when I said spectacular? Was I lying when I said how great this golf course is going to be and the things that you're going to be able to experience when you go up on this property? Was I exaggerating one bit that this is going to be one of the great resorts and golf course sets that you can play anywhere in the country? And let me say again, you can play, right? You can get out there and play these golf courses. These aren't private resorts. These aren't exclusive. These are available for you to go play. And the Highlands and the Keep and McLemore in general, 2 hours from a lot of major cities, 2 hours from Atlanta, 2 hours from Nashville, 2 hours from Birmingham, probably 2 hours from a flight, no matter where you are, and probably the eastern half of the country. You can get there pretty quickly. Fly into Atlanta, fly directly into Chattanooga Airport, and go up there and stay and play at these places. Please go online to themclemore.com and check it out. I promise you, you won't be treated any better. You won't have a better time playing the game and on property anywhere in the country than you will be when you go up to the McLemore. You'll see it when you go online, and you'll hear it from the people that have played there. Please follow it on social media. The McLemore is out there on social media for you to check out on Instagram and on X. The folks that go there are going to be bragging so much about this, and you're going to see a lot from the Keep here in the next few months. So please go out there, check it out, follow it, and then come back. We'll have these guys back on, hopefully a little bit later on in the fall as people have played it, and you'll get the feedback there as well. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this very special edition of Next on the Tee. Please come back and join me, because scheduled to be on the show, of course, Tom Patcher will be back with us, as well a wonderful friend of the show for a long time, Tim Simpson, former PGA Tour player and one of the great ball strikers of all time. He'll be here, and making his Next on the Tee debut will be Scott Monroe. So it's going to be a really fun show, folks. I hope you'll come back and be a part of it with us. I can't thank you enough for tuning in and for continuing to make Next on the Tee a part of your regular golf content. Until next week, Hit 'em straight, my friends.